Yeah, well, look, any country, if you firmly believe that someone is violating human rights, people are being killed, there is a national crisis in that country as a result of the state, you can take them to the competent court to deal with that issue. But it's not just taking people to court. I mean, you've got these forums, you've got the SADC, you've got the African Union, you've got the United Nations. That is where genuine leaders must, hold their counterparts accountable. That you can't have an influx of people from Zimbabwe coming to South Africa over the past, more than 15 years now, because there is lack of proper governance in that country, because there is no freedom and democracy. You march there, you get arrested, you get beaten up, you want to become an opposition party, you get brutalized, and those are issues of grave concern that leaders of these countries should say to their counterparts, you can't do this. Because whenever there's a crisis in another country, people flock into other countries, and therefore there will be a crisis in the country where they go to. Because now there's going to be an increase in terms of demand for resources, for opportunities, and all of those things. And the crime will increase as well. So those are issues that this particular summit, in fact, should be talking about, not this nonsense of xenophobia and all of that.
What does SADC make of Emerson Mnangagwa going for a third term? Are there any discussions or measures taking place that can be taken?
So you have to look at how that process has unfolded. It's a process that has kind of followed various domestic legal steps, right? Obviously, a process of that nature will draw some criticism. There will be others that express grievance against it. But it is not really for SADC to comment on those domestic processes, for as long as those processes are being carried out within domestic legal frameworks, which is what has happened in Zimbabwe. And so it's not something that SADC will express a view on, because it hasn't constituted a crisis that the region needs to grapple with. Okay.
We are on our own, Zimbabweans. Kariba tragedy has proven beyond doubt that we do not have a president. Emerson Mnangagwa has been so busy. We saw him last week at the Masowe Church. For your own information, he has an appointment with the AFM Church as they'll be embarking on their mission to celebrate Jesus over the weekend. This is not a man that cares about Zimbabweans. He only cares about himself and his family. Looting, getting richer, and why behind the gun and violence. So until you get that part, you're going to spend your time hoping that somewhere, somehow, there's going to be an answer from somewhere. We are the messiahs we've been waiting for. Anyway, I know some of you it's your first time to pass through this channel. I want to welcome you. Please subscribe. You'll never regret it. For those that are already in the game, thank you guys for your support. Please like the video, share with others, and comment responsibly. I need to read this comment very quickly. I think you heard the ZANU-PF government said Zimbabwe is not a province of South Africa. The sooner Zimbabweans stop being cowards and confront their government, otherwise they'll continue crying xenophobic forever, because the anti-illegal immigration groups are here to stay, and is referring to much and much. Because some are angry with much and much, but as far as I am concerned, as a Rumbi who is a patriotic citizen, I genuinely believe that it's time for us to fix our country. Guys, just imagine if Zimbabwe had all that we are after in South Africa. Would we be here? Home is always the best, right? Let's fix Zimbabwe. Well, yes, we can come for work, we can come for school, but let's go back home and build our own country and live with our families. That's what life is about. Communicating bags and move from country to country is not the solution, right? No, I don't subscribe to those notions at all. So now the death toll is sitting at 93. We have lost amazing people in Kariba. One thing that I want to say is that the people in the outskirts are so committed to life. They will do anything to feed their children. When you look at that ferry, you can't believe that it was carrying human beings. But that's how we've lived over the years, Zimbabweans treated like outcasts in a country that is so filthy rich. But because we are afraid, we'll continue to worship our oppressor. I've said this before, but I'll repeat again. What ZANU-PF has done to Zimbabwe is worse than Ian Smith regime and apartheid regime combined. So for anyone who thinks that we're going to be sitting here and they're going to hand over the country peacefully and love, and it's not in Emmerson Mnangagwa. I've said it, Emmerson Mnangagwa has got a criminal mindset. So criminals don't believe in rules. They'll outsmart you all the time. Because for them, it's all about money, violence, and the gun. It's us Zimbabweans, we need to take accountability of entertaining this nonsense for such a long time. I was laughing with my friends and I said, look at the military guy from Madagascar. They drove that criminal and all his gangs. And today, they have their freedom. They are not perfect, but trust me, they have got a breather. They are breathing. Yet we are still stuck, held at ransom by a group of gangs that are milking our country dry. Surely, Zimbabweans, we can do better as a people. You saw Emmerson Mnangagwa sitting next to him? They're the pictures. He's dining. SADC don't have the answers for you, brothers and sisters. Anyway, let's look at a comment from Hopo Shingon. You went in depth. I want you to pay attention to this message. You know I'm not going to be right. Now that South Africa, through President Cyril Ramaphosa, chairs SADC, there are no longer any excuses for pretending that South Africa's immigration crisis begins and ends at the Limpopo border. South Africa cannot sustainably resolve regional migration through police raids, deportations, and empty speeches about undocumented foreigners. It must confront the conditions forcing people to leave countries such as Zimbabwe and Mozambique. These root causes are known. They are disputed elections, repression, corruption, unemployment, economic collapse, and poor governance. SADC already has the necessary instruments. The SADC Treaty requires member states to uphold human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. Its election guidelines require political tolerance, freedom of expression and association, impartial electoral institutions, equal access to state media, and genuinely open political competition. The Protocol on Politics, Defense and Security Cooperation requires SADC to promote democratic institutions, good governance, and regional stability. Zimbabwe's own 2023 SADC election observer mission found that aspects of the election fell short to Zimbabwean law and the SADC election guidelines. It identified restrictions on political participation, the partisan conduct of state media, restrictions on freedom of assembly and expression, problems involving the voters' roll, and serious failures in the delivery of ballot papers. Nothing had been done 3 years in to fix these problems. In Mozambique, SADC called for electoral management boards to be professionalized and reconstituted on a non-partisan basis. It also called for electoral reforms to be enacted well before elections rather than being introduced close to polling day. President Ramaphosa should now place the implementation of these recommendations formally before the SADC summit. He is now the SADC chairman and has no reason for excuse not to do it. His chairmanship should demand time-bound reform programs, publish reports showing which governments have complied, strengthening post-election reviews, and stop SADC observer reports from becoming ceremonial documents that are forgotten as soon as incumbents are inaugurated. Most importantly, Article 33 of the SADC Treaty permits sanctions against a member state that persistently fails to fulfill its treaty obligations or implements policies undermining SADC's principles and objectives. Ramaphosa cannot impose those sanctions by himself because the summit acts collectively and generally by consensus, but it can force the issue onto its agenda and require every regional leader to state publicly whether they support or oppose enforcement. He has a choice to be like Nelson Mandela or Julius Nyerere or Ian Khama, who called a spade a spade. South Africa can also push for coordinated regional migration and labor policies, better border administration, and the implementation of SADC agreements governing employment and the lawful movement of people. But managed migration cannot substitute for democratic government and functioning economies. If the President Ramaphosa wants fewer Zimbabweans and Mozambicans crossing the South Africa out of desperation illegally, he must use South Africa's diplomatic and economic influence to insist that their governments respect elections, constitutionalism, human rights, and the rule of law. Immigration is not merely a border management problem. It is also the bill South Africa receives for tolerating failed governance next door. 70% give birth in Messina are from Zimbabwe, according to the South African government. It gives South Africa not only the SADC, but the moral authority to call for a round table. Nelson Mandela understood this. He used South Africa's mighty and SADC protocols to fix problems. President Ramaphosa now chairs SADC. He has the instruments, the regional platform, and the economic leverage. What remains to be seen is whether he has the political courage and will to use them. Many opposition leaders, past and present, across Southern Africa have accused South Africa leaders, particularly those within the ANC, of accepting bribes from delinquent governments in the region and using South Africa's economic and diplomatic might to shield those governments from scrutiny and accountability. South Africa's chairmanship of SADC now presents ANC leaders with an opportunity to prove that they can uphold the organization's own democratic principles, perform their regional responsibilities, and put South Africa's national interest first. They must demonstrate that South Africa will no longer be used by corrupt and delinquent regional leaders seeking protection from accountability. Protecting governments that rig elections, suppress political opposition, loot public resources, butcher constitutions, and destroy their economies does not merely harm the citizens of those countries, it ultimately harms South Africa itself. The consequences manifest in economic instability, regional insecurity, and massive illegal immigration into South Africa. President Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC can no longer complain about the symptoms of illegal immigration while protecting, tolerating, or refusing to confront the governments creating its root causes. South Africa now chairs SADC. It is the diplomatic platform, economic influence, and regional instruments required to demand reform. The question is whether its leaders have the political courage and the clean hands to use them. South Africa is now in charge. Let us wait and see whether it will be just a paper tiger or a real regional power that exercises the SADC powers it now holds. Power without responsibility is simply bad and terrible leadership without any moral fiber. That's a very interesting comment from Hopo Chingano. But let me say this, Zimbabweans, there is no Messiah that will ever come. We are the Messiah we've been waiting for. You know, South Africa's got a lot that's going down in their country. I don't think they will ever lose sleep over Zimbabwe's problems. I also don't think it's wise that every time we have challenges, we just run from pillar to post. I mean, Mbeki came to Zim. What happened? Nothing. Okay, there was Motlanthe Commission. What happened? Nothing. How long are we going to be crybabies? The people that are fighting us are just human beings. It's time for men to take their place and women to take their place and protect our city. We have what it takes to confront Mnangagwa and his criminals. It is simple as that. There are so many people who are miserable in the military, many miserable in the police, many Zimbabweans who are miserable across the country. You see, one of the reasons why Mnangagwa is running now from church to church is because he knows that the courts may order a referendum or throw the whole nonsense away. So because of that, he's busy doing whatever he wants to do. The question is, what are we doing to protect our sanity? You and I, we can put a stop to abuse in Zimbabwe. It's one thing to change a leader. It's another thing to change a political party. But it's also another thing to actually change the culture itself. Zimbabwe has got a culture of abuse. Imagine Ian Smith abused our people, treated them like trash. Mugabe came in doing exactly the same. Mnangagwa is worse. What guarantee do we have that someone who come after these people won't be worse than them? I'm saying this because we need to get to the bottom of the problem. You've seen that all the time I have done my videos, I've always sent around the abuse of our people, a culture of oppression. That you people act like they don't have hearts. You see the way Mnangagwa was treating you and I? He can never treat his children this way. That is the problem. Why do you think that your children are so special than any other child? Because if you expect your kids to have opportunities, why do you think that we should go to work for you to feed your kids and living a lavish lifestyle? I mean, a concubine can buy 7 million houses in a year. How much does Mnangagwa have? We don't talk about that, do we? He would rather fund cars and houses. We saw some of the reports yesterday that no, we want to buy people houses. But those who lost their lives are being given $100 note. That's how disrespectful they are. And we're just watching them, hoping that, oh, maybe SADC, or maybe Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa don't have the solution. I can tell you that. Very soon Ramaphosa will be leaving. And you're going to cry again. Until when Zimbabweans, we want Emmerson Mnangagwa to go. Mnangagwa is over and over abusing our people, abuse our constitution, and disrespect the country. Why do we still keep a man who doesn't have no regard for the country's constitution? We need to introspect Zimbabweans. Let's up our standards. It's time for us to know that we deserve respect. People can only treat you the way you want to be treated. My heart bleeds for the 93 or 4 people that he doesn't care. He can go to Maposo, he can go to AFM church, but he can't even fly to Kariba and mourn with the people that are feeding him, that are paying him his salary. He doesn't care. Mnangagwa, I don't blame him sometimes when he speaks the way that he does. It's because he has realized that we are not serious. We worship him. He's not our God. He's a human. But I wanted to remind you of what Comrade Knox said. Take a listen.
Ede tiri kutaura the spirit of the Gaza revolution. Atina watinombonyara kutaurira chokwadi. We are giving you the signal. Very few. Nekuti imi maratidza kuti muri kuda majaira and you think kuti hapana zvatinoitwa. Right. Now we are now coming for you. Pound for pound. We are coming. Tochida kuona kuti murume ndeupi. Murume chaichaiye ndeupi. Mnangagwa gadzirira kwako izvi kwekuita gadzirira. We are now coming for you. Head on. Miraiona vana veZimbabwe chimirirai signal. Chisiyai kwatiri. Chisiyai kwatiri. Nonyepa muchataurwa nakamuroyei maakmani katopedza so.
You and I will put a stop to the abuse that's going down in Zim. Do not underestimate your power. That sometimes mchezo zona kuti zizarinanyanga, or for the purpose for those who may not hear Shona. One day you wake up and realize that no, the owl don't even have horns. You're afraid of nothing. And Mnangagwa was capitalizing on your fear and continue to oppress you because he doesn't want to be held accountable for all the crimes he committed against Zimbabwe and his people. We're not going to allow it. Let's hold each other's hands and put a stop to abuse. I don't want to hear about election. I don't want to hear nothing. We want Emmerson Mnangagwa to go now. And now you will. Anyway, you tell me what you think in the comment section. Until next time, I love you all. God bless you and God bless Zimbabwe. Bye for now.